What is good, Defenders? Welcome. It has been a minute to episode 229 of the most LAFC podcast on earth and our first on StreamYard. This is going to be interesting. See how this goes. You know my voice. I'm the Scarf. J.R. Liebert back with my partner in pod again for our first time on StreamYard. I almost called it StreamYard. The one, the only Christian Philemon.
Oh, we can call it ScreamYard, baby. That's right. The purple-haired flamingo is back in full effect, folks, here in world-famous Philomonster Studios.
Oh, boy.
These faces for radio now have faces for video. So I don't know how many people are going to enjoy, how many of the millions
and millions
are going to transition over from the podcasting platform to the YouTubing platform. But heck, we might as well do everything we can to monetize everything we do, because we do an awful lot, and it's been an awful long time since we did anything, and that's obviously going to change.
Yeah, look, we're going to give this a shot. We'll see how it goes here on StreamYard. It's going to be lots of fun. I have to remember to look at a camera now when I'm talking. That's going to be a lot of fun. Look, we'll see how it goes. But we have, like Philly said, a ton to talk about. It has actually been a couple of weeks since we put on an episode. We apologize. We know we have seen the episodes. We have seen the messages on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of that good stuff. And again, if you're not following us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Defenders of the Bank, or on Twitter at Defend the Bank, please make sure you are. And I want to say real quick, a huge shout out to our sponsors, Flex Power Tools, the front of kit sponsor for LAFC, and of course, the primary sponsor in 2023 for Defenders of the Bank. If you have not been over to flexpowertools.com, please make sure you check it out. I want to talk real quick, and yes, we are going to talk about Chicho Arango. But let's update, Philly, everybody, on our last week or so of what we have been doing, the reasons why we have not recorded. I want to give everybody a quick synopsis of what happened over at the Flex Community Cup. It was an incredible tournament, a futsal tournament held at the US 5 Center in Norwalk, put on by Flex, and also out there, Remit Lee was out there along with Global Diplomatic, the LAFC Foundation, and most importantly, the Mo Facio Futsal Court Foundation was out there as well. 100% of the proceeds went to benefit that fantastic endeavor of course, funding and building the futsal court in Southeast LA in Mo's honor. I felt like it was a success. I was the MC for the event while you were off doing what you're going to fill us all in. My goodness, your travel stories are quite interesting over the last week or so. But I was able to MC the event. D9, Lucky's crew, BA, Empire Boys, LAO, Pride, the 42 Originals, Black and Gold Running Club, Global Diplomatic, and so many others brought teams out there for it. And again, 100% of the proceeds went to the Futsal Court Foundation. And look, we know it was the first one that Flex had put on in partnership with us here at Defenders. And there were a couple of kinks to work out, but I think once it got started, it was about a half hour late, I think, getting started. But once it got started, that snowball started rolling downhill, and it went pretty well. And I know we had an incredibly competitive game. The team signed up by Daniel Klebow in the finals against LAO's Malia United FC. Congrats to Malia and LAO for the victory there in the Flex Community Cup. The winners took home not just a Flex Power Tool and the medal that went to the winners, but they also got $100 from Remit Lee as well. So that was cool. It was neat. And the open division was won by some ringers from the South Bay, which was kind of interesting. They entered the open division because there wasn't a cash prize, and there wound up being a cash prize of $100 per person. So it was an incredible event. And a big thank you to Flex for making it happen. A huge thank you to LAO for bringing the supporters shield, and again, for all of the members of the 3252 and the other groups for coming out. And most importantly, and what was a bit of a surprise, Team Security Paul brought none other than number 77, your MVP for the 2022 MLS Cup, John McCarthy, there as well to take pictures with the MLS Cup and John right there, the MVP. Big thank you to LAFC for allowing that to happen. Philly, I was bummed because all day people were asking, hey, where's Philly? Where's Philly? The Community Cup was a success, but somebody was certainly missing from it, and that would be you, my friend. But not for a lack of adventure on your part. You had quite the last week.
I've had quite the last few months. I've been exceptionally busy. In fact, in some cases, even busier than I am during the MLS regular season. So, for those who don't know, I work in and with the Major Arena Soccer League. That's right. There is a sport called indoor soccer, and it is fabulous. I am the play-by-play commentator along with my good buddy Jonathan Reimer from Shoulder to Shoulder. He's my color commentator. So, we work for a team called the Empire Strikers. When they operate out of Ontario, California in Toyota Arena. So anytime there's a home game, it's my voice and Jonathan's voice on the call, and you get to see these games live on Twitch. Some awesome competitive action. Now, our team travels all around the country and all around North America, for that matter. Not Canada as of late, but eventually there will be another Canadian team in this league. There has been in the past. So typically what happens is when the home team plays, it's the home team's broadcasters that call the games. Now, there's two teams that are south of the border. One team in Monterrey, the Monterrey Flash, and then another team in Chihuahua, Mexico, called the Chihuahua Savage. Now, those two games and those two teams have fantastic commentators, but they speak in Spanish. So the vast majority of the audience for this sport happens to live in the United States, and a lot of them, for the most part, speak English, and a lot of them, for the most part, in the Midwest. So last year, there was an experiment in which Jonathan and I were flown down to Chihuahua to call the English broadcast between the then Ontario Fury and the Chihuahua Savage. It went off splendidly. So the idea was to do it again this year. So this opportunity, we got flown down, all expenses paid, which is awesome. We got to go to Monterrey, spend some time in Arena Monterrey, which ginormous arena, Scarf, 20,000 people in that arena. And I've heard at one point it was one of the biggest arenas in the world. Now it is the third largest in Mexico, which is crazy. Mexico City has two bigger arenas. And walking around that arena, bro, like you see pictures of all the things that have gone on. I mean, Queen played there. There's a huge photo of Freddie Mercury, Led Zeppelin. I mean, all the different events. There was WNBA games there. The NBA has played there. The biggest artists of all time have played there. And it's so cavernous, so ginormous, we got lost. I'm not going to go into the details of that, but that was what the story was there. And then off to Chihuahua to call a game on Saturday. I know Chihuahua isn't exactly a tourist destination on most people's bucket lists, but in the area that we were at, Distrito Uno, it's like the nicest area anywhere. It could be anywhere. It's like they call it the Beverly Hills of Chihuahua. It was just unbelievable. All the high-end food, all the amazing cuisine. I ate the freshest breakfasts I have in the longest of times.
You were up early enough for breakfast?
Right? I was, but we got to do some cool things. I posted on Defenders. We got a tour of Estadio BBVA where Rayados Monterrey plays. That was amazing. Walking down there, you could see the stadium with the big old mountains in the horizon. That was an amazing trip, and the games were competitive. The Strikers / formerly the Fury won their first game in franchise history in mainland Mexico. Never beaten a Mexican team ever, which was tremendous because those teams, Football Rapido teams, are unbelievable. So we pulled out a massive win after overtime in a shootout, and then took a shellacking at the hands of the Chihuahua Savage 2 days later. But dude, little kids coming up to Panda, Doctor, and myself, photos, autographs, selfies. I was given Monterrey. The team gave me an autographed scarf. If you see the scarf that says Flash, that was from the team. Every player signed it. Awesome.
I love that you had to figure out where your finger went.
I had to finger it. Figure it out. And then just this older Mexican gentleman down in Chihuahua, he comes up to me, and I think I met him the year prior, but he comes up to me and he's just like, Pasiona, just saying like, passion. Like they love the fact that I call the game with that much passion, not like a traditional English or American speaker. So signed autographs down there. Dude, it was a trip. It was amazing.
And I love, what do they call it again down there? It's not indoor soccer. It's football rapido, correct?
Football rapido. It's... Dude,
I'm telling you, I'm sticking with that from now on. I like that way better than indoor soccer. I like it.
It's a cool name. I mean, I love indoor soccer. For those of you who are interested in checking out a game, hit me up. I'll take care of you. First ticket will be on me. And I've made good on that promise. You could ask plenty of people that we brought, but the second game is going to be on you once you get hooked. There's tremendous players, very athletic players. There are two guys, Scarf, on Monterrey. One guy, Walter Ayobi. Guy played for the Ecuadorian national team in the World Cup on 2 occasions. Almost 200 matches with Monterrey, with Rayados. Another dude named Luis Angel Mendoza. El Quick is what they call him. Couple of caps with El Tri. started at Club America for a while, bounced around a bunch of other Liga MX teams, and another dude. I'm going to stop talking about this. I was just that excited. Another dude named Piloto, Israel Jimenez. Guy won a gold medal in the 2012 London Games playing soccer. I mean, there was some exceptionally talented players playing down south of the border.
You were telling me about that second guy, and I just remember, like, when I was actually on the pitch there, we were talking about this a couple of years ago when it was Edward Atuesta and Eddie Segura down there. I earned the nickname El Slow, not El Quick, from when I was in goal. So that I felt like a kindred spirit with that player. And look,
better than El Schmo.
Right. One of the other reasons why we love to talk about the Empire Strikers, obviously, former LAFC, Adrian Perez. It's where he came from and where he has gone back to. He actually switched the team name that he plays for. Right, no longer. I don't want to put $5 in the jar, but no longer the Ontario Fury, but now the Empire Strikers. So a former LAFC player playing down there. And look, MASL definitely has its share of talent. Roman Torres just signed with the Dallas Sidekicks, and we all remember Roman Torres from our battles with the Seattle Sounders from our first few years in the league with LAFC. So a very exciting time and some good things happening in MASL.
Ronaldinho getting a team, baby. Ronaldinho getting a team.
And look, it kind of reminded me the expansion of MASL and what's going on there. Philly, apparently everybody at LAFC, we're all billionaires now, right? The LAFC, the first MLS club to be worth $1 billion. That's billion with a B. Right up Philly's alley with all the financial talk here. I'll save you a lot of the article details, but LAFC apparently made an estimated $8 million in profit from $116 million in revenue, and this was before the $100 million BMO Stadium deal. The average MLS team valuation since 2019, that is only 3 years plus ago, has risen 85% from $313 million to now the average team is worth $579 million. 4 teams worth north of $800 million, and the only team with a B instead of an M next to their valuation is indeed the Black and Gold. Philly, $1 billion for an MLS club.
Right. I appreciate the fact that you brought, the finance thing. I had a little Twitter battle with some schmuck on there who he called me a bank teller. And it's like, oh, yeah, you're really doing God's work by peddling life insurance and 401ks. It's a little more complex than that. It sort of went at him a couple of times. And after a while, I realized, you know what? I like broadcasting more than financial advisory, so I'm just going to let this alone. But yeah, I do know a thing or two. You don't last 16, 17 years in this industry without being somewhat successful and knowing your stuff. And no, I don't pay to life insurance and 401ks. I've never done that ever. I just don't. But to see the amount of growth that we have had, the amount of success that we've had in the short period of time that we've engaged, that we've been here, it's nuts. We've leapfrogged teams since 96,
right?
And we're going to make fun of one team in particular that's right down the road. But no, it's tremendous to be valued at that. And it's not shocking now that American owners, right? They don't want to start a franchise here in Major League Soccer anymore because in some cases it's cheaper for them to go to England and buy a team. I believe that the gentleman who wanted to do something within Las Vegas decided that it was cheaper for him to buy Bournemouth than to start an MLS club, which to me, that's insane. Absolutely insane. It's cheaper to go to England to buy a team than to start a team here in the United States. Who would have ever imagined this going back to 1996?
Yeah, look, especially with the television and revenue rights and everything, that not for the next 10 years, right? Because we know the deal with Apple TV was such where we know what's going on for the next 10 years. But that next deal, what that could be for Major League Soccer, where it could propel itself into the stratosphere of something along the lines of what the English Premier League has done. Since 93, Philly, right? When the
92-93 era when the Premier League came in.
Yeah, and then everything kind of exploded from there, right? I mean, they call that promotion game as the most expensive game or the richest soccer match in the world. It's incredible to think that we might be talking about something like that in the quote-unquote relative near future. You mentioned a team from the since 96 era. Look, Philly, this season is not going well for you so far. They got rid of Tony Robbins, so you can't really yell about him anymore.
Huh.
And now, is it possible, Philly, that Kevin Baxter might be welcomed back to BMO back to the bank?
Mm-mm.
Is it possible? Because what we saw today, we are recording this episode Tuesday, February 7th, is that he poured absolute gasoline, kerosene, diesel, whatever else lights up on his loved Carson Galaxy with that article in the LA Times. Philly, is Kevin Baxter welcome back at the bank?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I know you were the one that put that tweet out in the post, and it was brilliant. And even the title of his, you're going to talk about something real quick, but even the fact, even his titling on this, he called the Galaxy a joke. But the damage has been done, bro. There's only so many slaps to the face that one can endure and take before finally you're going to want to be like, like there's no turning back from this. And what that shows me is how spineless of a jellyfish this human being is. If you don't stand for one thing, you're going to fall for everything. So, of course, it's convenient enough for him to go out there and turn his back on a team that he loves and supports. He's on a Galaxy podcast, for Christ's sakes. How many crappy things has he written about us? How many freaking breaking news things did he ruin for us and Angel City? He's not welcome back. If he ever came to shake my hand, I would do one of these childish, like I'm combing my hair things.
I'm so glad you said childish. I'm so glad.
What I respect is his tenure, what he's done. Do I respect him in general? Absolutely not. You follow Manchester City and Bayern Munich and the LA Galaxy, you're a glory chaser in my eyes. And if there's anything that anybody knows about us, we're not glory chasers. I root for all the bad New York teams, and by default, not by default, but by chance of circumstance. But when I learned that he follows all those teams, in the words of great New Yorkers, forget about it. No way would I allow him in my barbecue or cookout unless I got to throw crap at him.
Again, that was the opinion of one Christian, Philly Philemon. He doesn't always necessarily represent the opinion of both of the defenders of the bank. Kevin, I tried. I tried getting Philly over to your side, and here's why I thought we had a chance. Let me quote the article that came out today, Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. He says, and I quote, "And yes, it is fair to compare the Galaxy, an original MLS team, with upstart LAFC. They play in the same area, in the same league, and under the same rules. But since LAFC debuted in 2018, one team has built a definable culture, stuck to a sustainable philosophy, and become the league's most successful franchise. The other team is the Galaxy." That is what he wrote. That sounds like something we would write. How about this? One team exudes success and confidence. It would rather go big than go home. The other seems tentative and uncertain. Where once the Galaxy oozed arrogance, now like the Wizard of Oz, the team prefers to work behind a curtain, asking its fans for support while avoiding accountability. Yeesh. I mean,
there was one part within that article that said, like the Galaxy are doing their jersey reveal in the $1 Million Theater. Two things that are at this point, like, what's the word I was looking for? Oh God, what did they say? You know what I'm talking about? And they're just like, past their prime. I think that was the terminology used, past their prime. Hilarious. Yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go right ahead.
I mean, I just wanted to say this. So the guy, obviously, he didn't tote any impartiality. I mean, it was very blatant as to where his allegiances lied. If he was right down the middle, probably, would have applauded this a little better. But the fact that he was so pro LAG, now what that guy's doing, I don't know if he's near retirement or not, Scarf. So everybody in LAFC already hates him. Absolutely hates him. There might be people that respect him, but most of us hate him. And now everybody on the other side of the equation is going to hate him, from the front office down to the players, down to the maybe not the supporters groups that are boycotting. Maybe they feel like it's important for him to do that. Maybe he feels like he's doing them a service by being this antagonistic within his writing. But how are you going to have a career as an LA Times soccer writer when at this point both teams and both people and both supporters and all the readers of the LA Times are going to collectively hate your guts? I don't see how he's going to continue on.
I think maybe Kevin Baxter has seen the black and gold light. Maybe he is he's doing what he probably should have been doing all along. He's now picked the right side, but he's also, he's a reporter, so he's reporting as, I can't even say it with a straight face, impartially as he can. I do want to say, though, further down in that article, I guess, Philly, we should take the top off of what is obviously the biggest LAFC news to break in the last quite while. Biggest news maybe since Gareth Bale, obviously, is the transfer of one Chicho Arango to Pachuca. And look, I really liked what Kevin had to say and what many have already said. Vince LaRosa has talked quite a bit about this. Max Bretos has talked quite a bit about this. The reasons why we, quote unquote, had to let Chicho Arango go, what he says about MLS. MLS is a single entity structure with a salary cap and a Byzantine payroll system that punishes, not rewards, success. A championship means bonuses, raises, new contracts, and other perks that inflate the team's payroll and make it difficult to stay under the cap. And he says it's the biggest reason the league hasn't had a repeat winner since 2012. The bottom line with the Chicho Arango move is that it allowed us roster flexibility that if we would have DP'd him, which he clearly deserved, I think even if you asked John Thorrington or Larry Friedman or anybody else in the front office, they would have told you that absolutely he deserved a designated player type contract. But unfortunately, because of the constraints of MLS's salary cap and salary system, it made it so that we had to make moves like, for instance, Latif Blessing, Seba Mendez, Christian Teo. I think the club might have been relieved when Teo wanted to go elsewhere. That might have been relieved when Gareth Bale decided to retire. I think the only one that the club wasn't relieved to have done was, unfortunately, the transfer of Chicho Arango.
No, I completely agree. I mean, you hit it hard, and we talked about it even during one of the Instagram lives. It had to be done this way. He needed to be rewarded. I didn't think this would have been a long-term thing for him anyway. I mean, he's a talented player who deserves to play in different levels. I'd love to see the man in Europe, but he deserved his payday. We could only give him so much. He was making, less than $700,000 or so. But I think what that begs is the question as to whether or not we need to continue on with the way the structure is. I know the MLS Players Union, the collective bargaining, they demanded at least a fourth designated player, which in some cases I agree with, and to pay some extra bucks in that category. But the potential to create a dynasty obviously is very hard under these conditions. A team's going to win a championship, and some of these guys are going to want to go out there and get paid. This is their time to maximize their earning potential, because quite honestly, most any professional athlete is never going to make as much money unless you're Tom Brady as a commentator for Fox Sports. There you go. I quoted, I stole the greatest living American thing from you.
This has to be our wait.
What? I had to steal it from you.
Philly brought up Tom Brady. Everybody, look, it is February 7th, 5:46 p.m., 2023. The world is it still spinning on its axis in the same direction? Philly brought up Tom Brady, not Scarf.
Yeah, I had to. I had to steal from your thunder, but it kind of it fed into like my story. Athletes aren't going to get paid as much outside of the world of professional sports unless they go into commentary. So you got to maximize your potential as much as you can. Chicho's going to now go down to Pachuca, and all of a sudden now we're going to be more interested in Liga MX. Brian Rodriguez is down there, although I don't know how much playing time he's gotten at Club America. I know their season's just underway, 3-4 games in. But he deserved to get paid. He deserved to do his thing. Like, I'm gutted at the fact that he's no longer here. But that's the reality right now. It's the reality that we live in. And, we will be forever. Supporters will be forever. Players are going to come and go. But, I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow when two fan favorites, like a Latif Blessing, who we knew, quite honestly, was going to go, and Chicho Arango to leave. That's tough. And I don't feel envious for any of these individuals coming in that are going to try to replace and fill in their shoes, because talent is one thing, but being beloved by the fans is another. And you know how quickly people can turn on players here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, look, it took one pass for Andre Horta to get turned on. It definitely doesn't take long. I do just want to say the possibility exists that in the Champions League final, of which we play in March, the final could be Pachuca versus LAFC. And look, it's a very real possibility considering the last winners of MLS Cup, LAFC, and the last winners of Liga MX for that second season would be Pachuca. So Pachuca, the rich get richer down there for Liga MX. They have to be absolutely ecstatic that they get a player the caliber of Chicho Arango. We are absolutely gutted. I do want to mention the MLSsoccer.com just came out with an article, the potential breakout players on each team, right? And I found it interesting. A spot that we are sorely lacking now up top between Mahala and Stipe Buke. They're going to both have to shoulder some of that burden of Chicho Arango as of right now. Denny Bouanga and Carlos Vela rounding out our starting three, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about DC United. But two of the players mentioned, the breakout player for Houston Dynamo and the breakout player for RSL, in an article released, I think it was today. The breakout player was Corey Baird for Houston, and the breakout player potentially for RSL was Danny Musovski. And I think it's going to be quite interesting if and I don't have the author's name, but it was on MLSsoccer.com. Please go check it out. If the author is correct, and we have to watch Adama Diomande doing things in Toronto, we have to watch Christian Ramirez, who's back in MLS after a stint with Aberdeen, doing things for Columbus, and we have to watch. I mean, I haven't seen Corey Baird do literally anything since he has left our team, but for Houston. And someone who we're all obviously pulling for. We loved the Moose when he was here, and now he's over in Real Salt Lake. Those are four guys that LAFC has jettisoned or left us in unfortunate circumstances, right? So lots and lots and lots of wingers out there that we have seen, but very few players that play in the middle the way that Chicho Arango did. That's going to be the biggest hole for us to fill as of right now. So, third leading scorer of all time, only Carlos Vela, Diego Rossi, have scored more, and very few players can ever say they've scored goals as important as Chicho has for us. So, and again, one of the biggest bummers for me is I don't get to hear Philly sing the Chicho Arango song anymore. So.
I forgot who it was. I don't even know where I was when I read it, but it seems as if we can't create songs about players anymore because both those players have left.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's maybe somebody we don't like, we could create a song about him, see if the same process works. Although I don't have anybody on the team that I dislike. There have been players on our club that I've been like, Andre Horta obviously being one of them.
Right.
At some point it was about Brian Rodriguez as well, but there's nobody as of right now that I feel the need to write a song about.
And what I told somebody who messaged us on Twitter, I actually wrote, I never recorded, but it is written, a song about Diego Rossi, but I could never release it because he got released or he got sent out to Fenerbahce before I could ever actually record it. But it's written somewhere. Maybe I'll play it one day for us. Look, something that we like to do is called This Day in LAFC History. We talk about important things that happened on the particular date that we record. And look, I do enjoy a good This Day in LAFC history. I know we were looking at possibly recording this on February 6th. And what's weird is my computer is just going a little haywire right now, but I'm going to fix it in just a second. Yay,
live. Doesn't look like it on my end, though.
Right? Live stuff. I love it. February, we were going to record this on February 6th, but here we are now on February 7th. We're going to try to. So happy birthday to Kenny Arena, the son of Bruce Arena and a former assistant coach for LAFC for our first 4 seasons. And there was a note on February 7th that LAFC announced in 2018 that one of the first players signed for LAFC would not be former number 1 pick and rookie of the year Maurice Edu, who had broken or had stopped trialing with the team. And that would actually be, I believe, his last time that he would trial with an MLS team. So we almost had former number 1 overall pick Maurice Edu. That is this day in LAFC history. We've already gotten into our news and notes section. We talked about Chicho. Let's talk about a new member of the Defenders of the Bank, if you will, number 30 in black and gold, or in this case, just the linen color on his warm-up top, was Sergi Palencia. And this is a big signing for LAFC in terms of depth on the back line. He is a 26-year-old defender that we signed out of Liga 2 for Saint-Etienne. At one point, playing several matches with Denny Bouanga over in the French leagues. Look, he's a Badalona native Spanish guy who logged over 100 caps at Barcelona B. And Philly, while we talk about Barcelona B for just 1 second, can we have a moment of silence for what must be the inner soul and workings of one Julian Araujo of the Galaxy, who was apparently 18 seconds away from being Barcelona B's newest starter at outside back and possibly playing with one of the world's biggest clubs. But and it wasn't even the Galaxy's fault this time. But unfortunately, Julian Araujo.
Maybe it was not. I wouldn't put it past Barcelona to have screwed that one up. But maybe if the Galaxy would have gotten their stuff in sooner, Barcelona would have had more opportunity to hustle that out. But the fact that they are being so stringent on 18 seconds, that's just a joke, man. I mean, FIFA continues to dig themselves into a stupid hole. I would be furious if I was Julian Araujo. It takes a professional, which obviously he is, to turn it around and just say, the heck with it. Let me put my head down and grind. But now he's going to be in a scenario with a team that, is going to be operating with like one hand behind their back and one leg because of everything that they've been sanctioned on and whatnot. So if this team is a wooden spoon contender, he's not going to shine as brightly as he could if he was somewhere else. And that's only going to have a negative impact on him going forward, in my honest opinion. So whether or not Barcelona is going to keep that door open, I don't know. And also, by the way, he runs the risk of potentially getting injured in the process.
Yeah.
He sprains something, he tears something. All of a sudden, the opportunity to play in Catalonia is totally out the window. So this is an absolute crock and a joke. 18 freaking seconds. You've got to be kidding me.
Look, the transfer window's open for quite a while, so it's not like the window snuck up on anybody, right? You would think they would have tried to get something done a little earlier, but
and you still blame the Galaxy over Barcelona.
I love it. Knowing you're going to blame the Galaxy over Barcelona anyway, even though you're not a Barcelona guy. But
no, I am not.
Look,
at this point, I don't know if I could be a supporter of any Super League teams. Have you watched that documentary on Apple TV, by the way?
I have yet to watch the documentary, but you bring up Apple TV. If you guys haven't watched the 30-minute club intro for LAFC, it gives you chills. It is unbelievable. LAFC absolutely killed it on their team intro on the new MLS Apple TV stuff. Anyway, we bring up Barcelona B because that is also where Sergi Palencia honed his craft. Over 100 caps for Barcelona B, along, of course, with Ilie Sanchez as one of those guys who's come through La Masia. I mean, look, it's the most revered academy in the world, basically, La Masia. He could get real run backing up Ryan Hollingshead. We could also ask him to play over on the other side, backing up Chiqui Palacios, because, look, the depth is not there on the outside. That's where he played at Coachella. I watched him play against DC United. He played about 30 minutes or so, came in about the 60th minute, wearing number 30, Sergi Palencia. I think we're going to see him quite a bit to start this season. He's played in, a bunch of big leagues. He played in Liga 1 for a little bit. I just loved saying those French, Liga 2 and Liga 1. It's just fun for me to do. Remember, first name JR is actually Jean Ramon, so I got a little bit of French.
not in high school though.
So, no, that's for sure. It was all Latin. But Philly, he's a defender of the Banc, and we love our defenders of the Banc.
Look, I don't know much about Palencia. I'm not going to pretend like I do. Like a depth piece, if anything, and we'll see. I mean, his pedigree is nice. You come out of La Masia, you're a baller. You've been educated quite well in this beautiful sport. You not only have a lot of skill and talent, but obviously you have the mental game as well. So hopefully that'll translate. I don't foresee him starting, like you said, but it's nice to have some depth out there. We need all the depth that we possibly can, because this is going to be one of the longest seasons in our club's history with all the different tournaments that we're going to want to participate in. And unlike teams in the Premier League who, maybe some teams will take their foot off the gas when they're playing in the Carabao Cup, I don't envision LAFC being the type of organization that wants to take their foot off of anything. They're going to go out there and accumulate as much hardware in as many tournaments as they can. And for that to be the case, they need as much depth as they can possibly obtain, because you're not going to run the starters in every single game throughout the course of the season. You're going to run the risk of burning them out and potentially getting them injured. So we need as much depth as possible.
Well, speaking of depth, we had a dual cap raise tweet by LAFC, and you and I were really excited. We're like, who could this mean? I mean, they were both domestic, so we thought, okay, are we getting Kai Kamara up top? Are we going to get some big names? Not quite. when it comes to the big names. Goalkeeper Abraham Romero and midfielder Daniel, and we're going to go through this again another year. It's Crisostomo, people. That's all it is. Abraham Romero and Daniel Crisostomo. Crisostomo, of course, wearing number 17. I didn't get a chance to see
your favorite player's number.
Yeah, he was wearing 17 when he came out. That's why it took
Daniel.
me a second.
Oh, Daniel.
Nope. I can't fit Crisostomo into a song nearly as much as I would like to. So, look, we are all familiar with Daniel Crisostomo. He's a midfielder who's made appearances in both 21 and 22 for the Black and Gold. 10 appearances in 2021, only 2 last season. He may be, Philly, our first man up off the bench after Kellen Acosta, Jose Cifuentes, and Ilie Sanchez. He definitely got a bit of run out in Coachella, again, wearing number 17. But also, if you follow the club, you're probably relatively familiar with Abraham Romero, as Abraham Romero was with the Lights in 2022, which meant that he trained at the Performance Center and with LAFC. He also played with Los Gros and with OCSC before he came.
Best name ever.
I love that. Before he came to the Lights. Eldin Jakupovic got the full 90 against DC United, so didn't get to see him at all. But I'll say this. It was John McCarthy doing some training off to the side while Abraham Romero warmed up as if he would be the second man in. So I just don't think there was an option for McCarthy to play in that preseason match against DC. But with Eldin Jakupovic getting the full 90, maybe we see Romero when you and I are out there watching Adama Diomande, Mark Anthony Kay, Bob Bradley, Mike Sorber, and all of LAFC Canada take on actual LAFC in the preseason match. He might be our third keeper this season. Maybe he's behind Eldin Jakupovic if we keep 3, or maybe he's the starter for LAFC 2. I don't know. So we'll have to see what happens. But these are depth pieces. We're definitely familiar with Crisostomo. Again, though, Philly, not like you just said, we're playing 50-plus games this season, most likely. So these are guys that we could eventually see getting actual minutes for the Black and Gold.
Yeah, if what was the deciding factor for our team, our bench and our depth was scary last season. I mean, you had Gareth Bale and Christian Teo, and at one point, Denny Bouanga coming in off the bench. You had Mahala. You had some real amazing talent. When Crisostomo was on our team, that's when our bench was not very deep, and we struggled in big games. Now, I know the story has yet to write itself, and obviously he's improved dramatically. They wouldn't have given him a contract otherwise, but I'd like to see what he's going to bring to the table. I didn't have the opportunity to watch the game at Coachella. I had just gotten back from Mexico a few hours prior, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the story is. I'm still shocked at the fact that Jose Cifuentes went nowhere. According to Fabrizio Romano, that's a follow you should have on Twitter, about 14 million. He's the global Tom Bogert, if anything. Reported the fact that Benfica and Espanyol absolutely wanted the heck out of him in January, but it didn't come. That doesn't mean that Jose is still free for the time being, but I'm happy that we have him now. It's going to be a tease if we go on this pretty good run up until halfway into the season. But his contract expires December of this year. LAFC is not going to want to let him go for free, so they're going to do what they can to lock him and then make a couple of bucks off of him. So I'm happy that he's still here. I'm shocked that him and Cheeky are still here, but hey, that still bodes well for us, at least for half the season.
Yeah, and keep in mind, soccer allows tampering. And what I mean by that is
watch the Super League, apparently it does.
Right. Within 6 months of a player being out of contract, they can negotiate pre-contract terms with any other team. It is within their rights to do so. And like you mentioned, Jose Cifuentes' contract is up December 2023, or after the Major League Soccer season ends. So this is a dangerous time for LAFC. Obviously, Jose Cifuentes, one of the most, if not the most, prized name not to go anywhere. I think Kai Wagner was another name that a lot of people were talking about. But this is nervous time for LAFC. I was also, like you, completely shocked that Jose Cifuentes did not go anywhere. But thank God, because who else is playing midfield in that role that Jose Cifuentes plays? Me. Yeah, maybe me. And that would be El Slow. Remember? That's the nickname. So it's just one of those things that...
or El Quick Sand.
Oh, yeah, exactly. We don't have anybody who does even a reasonable facsimile of what either Jose Cifuentes or Chiqui Palacios do. We don't have a next guy up with that. All due respect to guys like Sergi Palencia or Eric Duenas, or I believe a name that we are trialing out there is a kid named Jeremy Rodriguez, who has a little bit of history with a couple of clubs. We don't have the drop off is precipitous. Our word of the day here on the podcast. The drop off would be precipitous once we go from Jose Cifuentes to whoever is backing him up, or go from Chiqui Palacios to whoever's backing him up. So nervous time for sure. You mentioned this, Philly, right? These are champagne problems, but they create very, very, very big, like Magnum style champagne bottle problems for LAFC if we have these two guys go. We have a date change for the Inter-Miami match. So we just want to let everybody know the match that was originally scheduled for Saturday, September 2nd, is now going to be played Sunday, September 3rd at 7:30 p.m. And I believe that is the home match. Saturday, September 2nd is now Sunday, September 3rd, according to LAFC. That's for the Inter-Miami home match. So the Fighting David Beckhams will have to start one day later. Philly, we were so happy when Max Bredos.
Wait.
Yes?
I was raising my hand, teacher.
Sorry, yes, I did. Yes, sorry.
People can see that I'm raising my hand.
Yes.
I'm thinking we should get fat heads of each other. So like when I raise mine, or it could be just like a picture of like a horse. I could get a picture of a bufanda for you, and we could just, interchange. Before everybody goes and gets haywire, I know there was the argument of the fact that, we're never going to have games on Sunday. Why did that change? Relax. The day after September 3rd is Labor Day. More than likely, you're not going to work anyway. So this is fine. We'll go out and party together on Christmas Tree Lane against Inter Fort Lauderdale, and then we'll get to sleep it off the next day. So, yes, Sunday games suck. But You're not going to work on Monday unless you unfortunately have to. Then I feel for you. But the vast majority of people will not.
Yeah, so we were very happy for Max when he got the call to the great Apple, the talent roster for Major League Soccer broadcast. Well, 3 other friends of LAFC, and dare I say 2 very good friends of the podcast, have now gotten the call as well. Heath Pierce, Francisco X Rivera, and one of, and I'll say this because Philly loves it when I do, one of the nicest people you will ever meet, one Mark Rogandino, Rogo, getting the call, all 3 of them from Apple. Philly, you and I have had the pleasure of working with and becoming pretty good friends with Mark Rogandino. He is a great dude and somebody who has been an absolute rock star in LA sports coverage for the last 20 years, covering LAFC since the jump. He's done pregame, halftime, postgame, radio, TV. He's done everything on every media outlet possible, for every media channel possible. Mark Rogandino is there and has been with us since day one, which is incredible. Rivera has been doing LAFC Spanish broadcasts for the last 3 seasons. And Heath is someone who actually you've had lots of great correspondence with, and someone who was often seen alongside Max Bredos in the second chair. Just a big congratulations to all 3 of those guys.
Absolutely. Couldn't have happened to better people. Looking forward to that. Heath is one of the coolest people you get the opportunity to meet, if you, in fact, get that opportunity. And Rogo has always been so cool with us, man. I remember when we went down to the studio close to LAX in Culver City. We got to spend a good hour with him, hung out with Max, a little bit with Warren Barton. That was a good time. And, I'm trying to follow in his footsteps, Scarf. Like, his favorite team growing up happened to be an indoor soccer team. And the very first opportunity he had at any kind of broadcasting was being a broadcaster for the legendary San Diego Soccer. So, I'm trying to cut my teeth in indoor soccer like he did. Who knows? Maybe I'll be on the morning news team somewhere along the line. So I'd love to do that. I know you love teaching. I don't love finance, so that's what I'm trying to do.
Hey, look, Jimmy Kimmel was the sports guy on K-Rock Radio is how he got his start. So it can come from anywhere. And if we can get half as successful as either Mark Rogandino or Jimmy Kimmel, I'm sure we will totally do that.
10% of Jimmy Kimmel. Maybe
one. How about being able to retire at 33 and then play at Pebble Beach just a couple of weeks later?
Can't happen to us, man. Sorry, we're over the hump.
It is hard being Gareth Bale, huh, man? Just unreal.
Yeah, I mean, how much money does he have to spend on rubber bands for that man bun of his? I mean,
Well,
that's
it's
an
funny too.
expense right there that he has to write off.
He had his golf, his hat while he was golfing. Everybody wears hats. So and there was this giant man bun sticking out of the back of his cap while he was playing Pebble Beach. Look, he played with playing partner Joseph Bramlett, finished tied for 16th at 16 under. And look, I was able to watch just a little bit of it. He holed out a really nice putt on the 13th during the third round. It's rough being Gareth Bale, man.
Yeah, I applaud the man for going out on top the way he did. The heck else is he going to do? I mean, he wins a championship on his last club, gets to play in a World Cup for his country, first World Cup since, well, Pele was playing the beautiful game. So, I mean, He goes out on top, and we know how much he loves golf. He got criticized at Real Madrid for his love of golf. It was ahead of his love for being a Madrista. But hey, the guy worked hard. He was blessed with amazing opportunity. I don't blame him. Go out there and do what you got to do. I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing him compete even more competitively and take home a couple of bucks. Golf is a cool sport because you can play that decades into your life. It's not like football or hockey or basketball to where you only have like a finite level. You can play golf till you're 50, 60 years old.
And he's barely decades into his life. He's 33. He retired at 33. He's still in incredible physical shape. So this is something you're absolutely right. He's a 2 handicap. So already he knows.
I just play like I'm handicapped.
Right. Right. So congrats to Gareth and good luck on your apparently fledgling golfing career. We had mentioned Christian Ramirez coming back to MLS with Columbus, no longer with Aberdeen. Unfortunately for us, Columbus.
Scotland, Ohio. Damn.
I know, right?
Hold on. I got a sound for that.
Oh. So unfortunately, in another, you don't have to play it again, but another wah-wah is that Columbus is not on our schedule this year. So we won't get to watch Christian Ramirez put one over the bar from 7 feet out. That's unfortunate. I do want to say there is a very small bit, Philly, of LAFC 2 news. LAFC 2 news. We got ourselves a preseason match. I don't know if it's closed-doored at the Performance Center. I don't know if it's closed-doored
I think it's closed door, dude. Yeah, I think I read that it was.
Well, I know it's closed door, but I don't, is it at the Banc? Is it at the Performance Center? Is
it on the campus of Cal State Fullerton while LAFC 2 is going to be playing?
Right. So we don't know, but what we do know, right? February 26th, which is, by the way, just 19 days from right now, against the Las Vegas Lights. What? I don't know who's going to be playing for the Las Vegas Lights because most of them apparently are playing for LAFC 2, and they haven't announced a whole ton of signings, although there is a signing in Phoenix Rising we got to talk about real quick, Philly. But it's going to be really interesting considering they've only announced how many players for LAFC 2, like 1 or 2 right now. Not a lot going on there, not a lot going on for the Lights, but there will be a game in 19 days.
Looking forward to it. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it. I can't go. But the fact that the Las Vegas Lights have not folded, that's kind of cool. I will tell you that was a very enjoyable experience going over to Cashman Field and watching the Lights play. Saw them against San Antonio FC. I saw Cal Jennings score a goal there. I did not get to hang out in the kiddie pool. I did not have $100 dropped on me by Eric Winalda. But either way, it was a damn good time. I enjoyed the USL. I had no cares in the world. It was a fun time. So it's good to see them not go away. They've got really cool jerseys. And that's about all I can say about the Las Vegas Lights.
Look, it's going to be fun this year with Enrique Duran at the helm for LAFC 2. He first joined LAFC in 2017 as the director of coaching. He's pretty much developed the academy. He's been instrumental in developing the academy. And their first player, by the way, Christopher Jaime, the first player to sign an MLS Next Pro contract. He played with the academy in 21 and with the Lights quite a bit in 22. So I think he's the only player on the roster for MLS Next Pro's LAFC 2 right now. But we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun at the campus of Cal State Fullerton. We had a good time when we were out there. So that was cool. Let's do a quick, this isn't going to be, look, for all of you that are tuning in to Defenders of the Bank for the very first time, normally we do like a blow-by-blow breakdown of every match that goes on during the regular season, postseason, Open Cup, Leagues Cup, friendly, whatever you got. We break it down, but not so much for these preseason type matches. But especially, we got to talk about this one because it was the first one that people were allowed to go to. I got a little glimpse into the closed door friendly at NYC when we played NYCFC at the Banc, but not a lot to be gleaned from that other than maybe we saw Denny Bouanga miss a penalty kick. Maybe we didn't. I'm not allowed to say. But for this first match, can I just tell you, first of all, for those of you that have not been out to the Coachella Polo Grounds, it is beautiful out there. It is absolutely beautiful. A couple of quick things. Number one, you will not be allowed to bring drums. You will not be allowed to bring flags. You will not be allowed to bring large signs pretty much of any kind. You will not be allowed to bring metal water bottles. And there is a security checkpoint that you have to go through. But that being said, there is a lovely little restaurant called the Tack Shop Tavern located right next to where the games are played. There are places to buy cocktails and stadium food and all kinds of other stuff. There are bleachers that are out there. And if you bring your lawn chair, which they encourage you to do, they will put you all the way over to the corners of the field where you won't be able to see much if it's happening on the opposite side. So get there early, prepare to sit in the bleachers. You'll be good to go. Those are all the heads up, I would say, for what to know about Coachella. And unfortunately, there was no post-game concert. There was no Beyonce. There was no Jay-Z. There was no nothing after this match. But we did get to see Wayne Rooney and Philly. I'll say this. Looks like Wayne Rooney's lost a few pounds. He's in a little bit better shape right now because word is, and I have an insider that was feeding me information, Philly, the entire time, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Word is he's been playing center back at practices, at training, because of how depleted DC United are. We think we're depleted right now. Apparently DC United, even more depleted, that they're using the legendary Wayne Rooney at center back in practices.
I mean, I don't think he hates that. I don't think he hates that at all. He gets an opportunity to go out there and run with the boys. When we saw Wayne Rooney last season, he was looking kind of rough, rocking a beard. You know, some of us slightly overweight guys rock that beard for one particular reason, to cover that double chin. That's right. I'm talking about myself too. I'm in that category these days. I need to lose weight. Hell, I'm suffering from gout. I definitely need to lose weight.
You are. Can we just say for a minute, Philly is playing through pain today, guys. He has been dealing with gout for like the last week. And
like 3 days. 3 days.
Well,
I caught it in Monterey. I really can't drink beer anymore, man. Like that's what put me over the edge.
I saw a picture of your foot. It's not great.
No, it sucks. Climbing that ladder at Corner Sports Arena was awful. I posted that on social media. That's how you get up to the broadcaster's booth. Yeah. I mean, my body just cannot break down beer anymore. I don't really.
It breaks down for sure.
Oh, it breaks down for sure. Yeah, right. So yeah, anyway, this is besides the point. You know me. I like the squirrel. I change directions. Yeah. It's good that he's out there, Wayne Rooney, playing football, because he was looking more like a professional bowler than he did a former professional athlete. And there's a couple of guys who, after their playing careers ended, they gained weight. Obviously, the original OG Ronaldo doesn't really look like he played. And then Wesley Sneijder from Holland, that's another guy who's seen better days. Wesley Sneijder ate a lot of Wesleys on his way to Schneidering into that belt of his. So, yeah, if Wayne Rooney's out there looking good. Does he still rocking the beard, by the way?
He is rocking the beard.
Covering that double chin, man. That's why you do it.
I did notice, and look, this isn't a criticize or critique Wayne Rooney podcast, but he's also getting a little thinner up top
he was always thin up top. He just had surgical procedures done to negate that. If you see him when he debuted at Everton, right as he started his Manchester United career, that kid was balding real early on.
Yeah, look, he is one of the legends of the game, though, so it was really cool to be – I mean, we were 15, 20 yards away from Wayne while they were warming up and while they were in training and everything, so that was pretty cool. The cool part about this at this point in our preseason matches is that we're starting to see some players who get regular first team minutes, get regular run during the preseason. So I do want to say our starting lineup for this match was Eldin Jakupovic in goal. Number 1 is the number he was wearing. Across from him in the opposite goal in bright green was their number 1, Tyler Miller. Yep, Tyler Miller.
And for what I saw Denny Bouanga do, he looked more like number 2.
Oh, my goodness. Denny Bouanga, we'll talk about that in just a second. But Tyler, as soon as he got around him, you just saw the look on Tyler's face. And he was just like, oh, that's so bad. Oh, my God. So Eldin in goal. Cheeky Palacios and Ryan Hollingshead on the outside. Aaron Long wearing number 33 and Jesus Murillo in the middle. Ilie Sifu and Kellen, no surprise there in the midfield. Carlos, Denny Bouanga, and Stipe Buke
What I figured.
wearing number 7. So Stipe Buke wearing number 7. I know. I did not love that. It's going to be weird, but I don't know. I don't like that. Anyways, who I didn't get to see for DC United, Taxi Fountas was injured and did not play. But who I did get to see. So yeah, Tyler Miller in goal. 15-year-old center back, Matai Akimboni. 15-year-old. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and he is who Denny Bouanga absolutely shook senseless to go 1v1 versus Tyler Miller. He went 1v1 on Akimboni first and undressed him. We'll talk about that later. I did have a good chance to yell at Andy Nahar a couple of times because
El Papel.
Number one, El Papel. Number one, he was on the pitch, which I was shocked that Andy Nahar was well enough to play. But he was also playing right back.
Until the sprinkler hit him.
Yeah, no, he almost tripped. It was a thing. But he was playing right back, so he was right next to us the whole time. Every time he moved up, which was fun.
Not right side gurney.
No, not right side gurney. Christian Benteke, of course, getting the start up top and making his debut with DC United was Mateusz Klic, which was pretty cool to see him come on for the very first time for DC United. One of their much ballyhooed additions here in the offseason. In the 18, and I just want to mention him because my insider information that I got the entire game was from none other than Peggy Birnbaum, the mother of Steven Birnbaum, USA men's national team player. She was a gem, an absolute delight to sit next to the whole time. She was wearing an old DC United jersey, so of course I struck up conversation with her right away, and she goes, well, you know, my son might be coming in the second half, so you have to be nice. And I go, well, that actually is less of a reason for me to be nice, but who is your son? And she said, Steven Birnbaum. And I was like, wait a minute. I started talking about Birnbaum, and she was impressed that, you know, I both knew who he was, number one, and also I knew a great deal about a few of the other guys on DC United because, you know, we do a podcast and stuff about this. So I came in prepared. But she was so nice. Peggy, we know you are now a big fan of the podcast. We want to say thank you for listening. Peggy Birnbaum, Steve Birnbaum's mom, was awesome. So, Philly, it was absolutely beautiful out there, and it was great to see a lot of those names that I just mentioned, maybe with the exception of Stipe Buke, if we make some sort of move for a frontline player, and likely, obviously, with Eldin Jakupovic. Everybody else, that's pretty much a starting 11.
I would agree. I had... With the departure of Chicho Arango, that was my initial thought, was that, okay, now Stipe is going to get the burn. I don't think he's going to start over Mahala. I really don't. Not with the amount of, what's the word I'm looking for? Chutzpah, the hoopapala, the hubbabaloo, like the amount of attention that he's, all made up words, by the way. The amount of attention that he's getting, he's got to come in to get starters minutes. If maybe Mahala starts the first game and then Stipe works his way into the lineup, I think that at this point it's Stipe's job to lose. It's still, unfortunately, Mahala's position to earn.
Yeah, look, it's got to be tough, right? With Mahala having to continue to overcome to earn minutes. But by the way, in that same article where Corey Baird and Danny Musovsky were picked as breakout players, so was Mahala Opoku for LAFC, mainly because they said they don't really have any other young type guy that could possibly break out that's not already a star. So that he was mentioned there. Let's be real, everybody. The DC United club that we saw play in Coachella, they are the reigning wooden spoon winning club in Major League Soccer. So this is not a good club. And with Mateusz Klic and with Christian Benteke and with, I guess, Tyler Miller is an upgrade from Bill Hamid, apparently, according to Peggy, my insider source at DC United. They should be better. But here's what I can tell you. For the first 45 minutes, that entire starting lineup that I mentioned, they played the entire first half. And LAFC absolutely dominated. They controlled the run of play. They dominated possession. They had more quality offensive chances. They had more of them, too. They looked great, and it was a lot of fun to watch LAFC get right back to being LAFC. Of course, no Chicho Arango. Of course, no Latif out there, and of course, a little bit of a different permutation there on the back line. But we looked great in the first half. Eldin Jakupovic was not tested, like, at all. He had a couple of times where he had to maybe punch a ball away on a corner, a couple of times where a ball rolled to him that he had to just literally pick up. But in terms of even needing to have much service out of the back, or even needing to move to his left or right all that frequently, El Slow would have been just out there doing just as well out there than Eldin. But really smooth waters in front of Eldin Jakupovic. And our whole back line was great. Benteke is a load to deal with on the inside, and you can tell they kind of dumped it into him and wanted him to create every now and then. But our back line looked great. The midfield was solid. Stipe was solid. But here's what I will say. There is a dude in number 99, Denny Bwanga. He looks great right now in preseason. He absolutely, like I said, just broke the ankles of the 15-year-old Matai Akaboni, and then went 1v1 with Tyler, and that was not much of a match as well, for those of you that saw the highlight. So what we saw, Philly, in the first 45 minutes was LAFC doing everything that LAFC should have done.
Cool. I don't have much input to add to this, because the only info I got was off of what you were tweeting at Coachella. Right. So it's nice to hear these things. I didn't get to see them with my own eyes, so it's really not fair to anybody for me to report anything, which is why I went on mute, which is why I attempted to play this little thing that your soon-to-be father-in-law at some point in your life gave me for Christmas. And it's deceptively hard, folks. It's
Ball and Cup. It's Ball and Cup for all of you that watch Family Guy. It's Ball and Cup. That is exactly what Philly is playing right now. And
yeah, so I figured, like, let me go off and do this while you report on things. Oh, I got it. Oh my God, I can't believe I got it.
And the best part is
I retired tonight.
That's on video. That's it. You got to quit. That's it.
Yeah, this is an experiment to see if anybody comments on it, whether or not it looks funny. I mean, people know that I'm a little woo on these things, because you keep us in line. So I actually get to have a little fun. Whereas when I do all the stuff in the MASL, I have to be the scarf variation. I can't really be the Philly variation. So this is fun for me.
Like you said, squirrel. We've met. I know. Yeah. So DC then came out much better in the second half. The only substitution that was made at halftime was Murillo came out, and Danilo Maldonado coming into the match. And I've seen Danilo play now a couple of times. He's a bigger guy. He's definitely a solid center back. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily love what I see so far. Massive changes after the 60th minute for both sides. The second team was essentially Eldin, Danilo Maldonado. I'm just going to name names, not necessarily name positions at this point. But you had Eldin, Danilo Maldonado, and Mahala Opoku. Those are the names that I think we can see that we'll be counting on quite a bit throughout the season. Eric Duenas, Tony Leone, and Christian Torres all out there at the same time, the original three homegrown. So that was neat to see those guys out there, as well as Daniel Crisostomo wearing 17, Sergi Palencia wearing number 30, Nathan Ordaz wearing number 27. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. And there are two players that I will tell you as of right now, and I have put in calls to the appropriate parties to try and get information. Two players I don't know. I believe one of them is number 36, Jeremy Rodriguez, and I do not know who number 35 is. If you are number 35 or you are number 36 and you are listening to Defenders of the Bank, please DM us. That would be great. Two late goals. And the reason why the goals were scored, number one, Danilo Maldonado fell down, and they made a nice play into the box and scored. Christian Benteke leveled it. Oh, excuse me. It was, what was that guy's name? He has like it's going to kill me. I'm going to look up his name, but he is a homegrown who has now scored twice in the last two games for DC United. And the second goal was, unfortunately, Benteke 1v1 versus Tony Leone. And Leone did not have a good defensive sequence there. Leone is still the only player of the first three homegrowns to sign who has not played significant minutes. So, yes, LAFC lost because of a goal in stoppage time. Do I put any stock at all in preseason matches? That would be an absolute no. Otherwise, I think the New York Jets would have been like 4 or 5 times Super Bowl champions based on some of their preseasons. But, we saw a lot of young kids play for about 30, 35 minutes. And then I'll say this. After the match, the coolest thing, almost every single frontline player and a bunch of the backups came out, and there were dozens of kids out there that they were signing for. Vela and several other players gave the jerseys off of their backs, so that was really cool. The players were great. Imad was out there, which was wonderful, and being able to chat it up with him. It was overall, look, Peggy Birnbaum is a peach. She was an absolute treasure. Dolores Mantooth is a saint. And other than that, it was a really fun day.
It looked like it. I saw the pictures. I love the fact that you went live. And that's the stuff that needs to be done when people like myself and a lot of the millions don't get to do things. Still waiting on those Flex event posts, by the way, Mr. Scarf. Just letting you know.
Okay. So for those of you out there, there has been a massive change in my work schedule. Philly and I have talked about it, but these last 2 weeks have been tough. I thought I taught a lot of classes before these last couple of weeks, but I'm teaching a bunch now. I still love what I do more than anything. At
least that's one of us.
I would absolutely love to be doing what Max Bretos, Mark Rogandino, or even Heath Pierce at this point get to do for a living. But I love what I get to do. It's going to be a little bit tougher for the next couple of months until the end of this school year. But you know what? It's for the children, as they say in WandaVision. And I'll keep doing that. Absolutely love it, but it has been tough. It'll be an interesting year. But that being said, I'm excited because you and I, my friend, will be out at Coachella next weekend watching Bob and Mike Sorber and Mark Anthony Kay and Adama Diamande and maybe Tomas Romero and everybody else playing on LAFC Canada, which is humbly known as Toronto FC. It's gonna be fun to be out there. It's a beautiful environment. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Looking forward to it. I was very anti going to this. Not for any other reason other than the fact that I just did not want to spend any of my hard-earned money and give it towards AEG because that benefits a certain team down the 110. But the opportunity to see Bob, Dio, Kay, Romero, I'm all for that. And plus, believe it or not, since I moved here 7 years ago, that's right, my Caliversary. It sounds gross to a lot of people who grew up here, but my Caliversary was in January, and I have yet to go to Palm Springs. This is the closest I will ever be to Palm Springs. It is the closest I'll ever get to the Polo Grounds because the real Polo Grounds no longer exist. That is where the New York Mets and the old baseball New York Giants used to play. Certainly looking forward to it. I am not shelling out for the VIP. I think it's an absolute joke that you have to spend money for a VIP thing just to get a tent and a couple of drinks. That's just dumb. If you can do it and $300 doesn't mean that much to you, God bless you. I don't want to spend $300, but $45, I'll hang out and watch Sunburn, have a couple of drinks or two.
I actually forgot about this story. Thank you so much for bringing up VIP.
I didn't mean to do it, but you're welcome.
There were 4.
For what?
VIPs. For the match.
Oh, really? So there was Monday. 4 people underneath that special tent?
So not only that, the 4 guys walked in together about 30 minutes late to the game. The game had already kicked off. We're in like the 30th minute. These 4 guys walk in. I actually, from the bleachers, not even sure where the VIPs were supposed to sit that was any different than where everybody else was supposed to sit. There was a section of bleachers all the way off to the left that had a little sign that said VIP and a security guard standing there. And nobody was sitting in those bleachers because there were 4 VIPs. There was a little like cabana-like area well off from where you would be able to see any soccer going on, that maybe that's where those 4 guys were. And they were like, oh, wait, the game started? I couldn't hear anything. For anybody that's LAFC affiliated and bought the VIP, there's no reason to, but you're going to have to give us a full play-by-play because these 4 guys, they look like they had come straight off the golf course. They obviously had nothing to do with much of what was going on with LAFC, and it was kind of a joke. There were 4 of them. But anyways, if you did it, if you bought it, enjoy your VIP. I almost said something I would have regretted. But yeah, there's no reason to be VIP, Philly. We're good.
Cool. $45 plus their stupid convenience fee. It is.
Yep. All right. So let's see. We've talked about how we were all billionaires, Philly. Hopefully, we'll get some of that residual Forbes money that they valued us on. We hope to bring you guys some more LAFC news. We will be recording again.
There is
yes?
something to talk about, Scarf.
Oh, yes. Go on.
I don't see that's on the docket, but we got to bring it up. And the only reason I feel compelled to bring it up is because our good buddy Tom Bogert, who did say he was going to be on Defenders of the Bank, by the way, I do need to get a hold of him. Once tomorrow is done, I'll have a little bit more spare time. But yesterday, Tommy Scoops reported the fact that LAFC is having conversations with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Aubameyang, folks, where he's having a conversation with that. And when I first heard about it, I thought, no way. This is kind of a joke. But then as you read into the article, the assumption would be that Chelsea's going to cover the majority of his salary. All right. Why the heck not? Guy's 33 years old, still has blazing speed, is a danger and a consistent threader of the net, and he moves off the ball exceptionally well. I remember when Arsenal came into town to play Bayern Munich, we went out to the digs to watch that game. His speed, granted this was like 5 years ago or so, his speed was blazing, absolutely blazing. And he has ties to us. He doesn't play for the French national team, as I'm sure you're well aware of. He plays for Gabon. Guess who the captain of the Gabonese national team is?
That would be number 99, Denny Bouanga.
Which is interesting because Palencia has some ties to Denny Bouanga. Aubameyang, I'm sure this conversation's even happening because of the fact that he has ties with Denny Bouanga. What I don't like, though, is the fact that, Aubameyang does not have a great reputation for, locker room stuff. You'd have to just watch the All or Nothing Arsenal documentary on Amazon Prime to come to that conclusion yourself. I mean, stripped of the captaincy, unceremoniously gone, free agent for a while, picked up by Chelsea, 11 games in, and now they're looking at the possibility of, letting him go elsewhere. I don't really like that. But the fact that he's got boys on this team might mean something. I don't want him to come in thinking this is going to be easy for him. He tries to Hollywood the Hollywood team. I find it to be an intriguing rumor. Whether or not it happens, I would say it's interesting because the guy is a proven striker. The guy can score. There's no doubt about that, and he's fast. And, well, he'll probably sell some jerseys too. But they're talks. That's all they are. Both sides are very far away from anything happening, but it is still something that we should have had a conversation about because our good buddy Tommy Scoops reported it.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. And that being said, he was left off of Chelsea's roster not too long ago. Philly, it could be a good move for us. I think, look, if
Chelsea covers the salary, the majority of it. We're not paying him mega money. No way.
100%. And I think if, for instance, we're talking about something like him over a Kai Kamara, for example, or him over some other, frontline guy that we're looking at, I think it could be a great move. I also have to go back and check, Philly. I have to go back and check because he was on the team in 17-18, but I don't think he made an appearance, right? He didn't already play at the Banc with Dortmund. Did he actually play in that game? I have to go back and look.
Oh, dude, I don't remember at all. I remember things like Aaron Kovar scoring and Charlie Lyons having the only second half is the only 45 minutes of his career. I remember seeing Pulisic. I remember seeing Schürrle and Götze. I remember seeing Aubameyang, but I don't remember if he played. I really don't.
I wonder if he wound up coming in. I'm gonna take a look at that.
5 years ago. Wow.
I know, right? The other thing that I thought was pretty cool today, just one last little bit of information, and Philly being the numbers guy and being the financial guy here on the pod.
The big
congratulations to Stacey Johns, LAFC. Promoting her to the chief operating officer of the club. She's been with LAFC since August of 2020 as the CFO, chief financial officer. She is now the chief operating officer and chief financial officer. So she comes to us from the Indianapolis Colts, by the way. She came to us from there in 2020. And look, she's done a lot of great things already for LAFC. She will now apparently, according to the article, also oversee a number of revenue-generating verticals, as well as data strategy, IT, and stadium operations. Whew! A graduate of Butler. She's an Indiana native.
An
And she
Indian
currently
native?
Indiana.
That's what I thought. Who?
Hoosier.
Yeah, be the number 2 in the country, by the way. Boiler this.
And she also serves as a board member of the LA Sports Council. So, hey, cool. We've got a new COO, and congrats to Stacey Johns. I am trying as best I can to stall as much as I could so that I could find the game, but it's not happening. It doesn't
have to go to work.
I do. In like 20 minutes, I have got to be somewhere. But you know what? That's okay. We're having fun. We're hanging out. Things are good. No complaints here. But apparently they don't have the friendly. I was looking for the LAFC Borussia Dortmund friendly, but it's nowhere where I can easily find it anyway. So I'm double checking right now before we sign off. This is riveting. No, he was not even in the 18 for that match. So there you go. No Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. But Philly, it's been our first episode on StreamYard, episode 229 of the most LAFC podcast on earth, Defenders of the Bank. We did pretty well, an hour 16. We probably could have shortened it by a couple of minutes, but you know what? We don't have to because it's our podcast. So there you go.
That's true.
And the best part is this one's over. And you guys know how we like to end every single one of our episodes.
Bye-bye.